Hello everyone and welcome to another Bimmer Fixer video, and in this video I will be showing you how to solve the dreaded creaking and cracking noise that you've got coming from your dash on your E60 or E61. Now if you've had your E60 or E61 for any amount of time, you've probably come to learn that the noises from the dash are a little bit annoying here and there, just little ones. This particular noise is very distinctive, very annoying. You'll want to set fire to the car and never see it again. In fact, I've known people to sell the car because of this noise, and it's a real shame because it's such a simple fix. Now you wouldn't be a fool for thinking that the noise is actually coming from inside the car. You think it's buried in the dash somewhere, so you might be afraid to try and tackle it. It's not. This noise is actually due to the torque bolts on the strut brace coming loose, especially if it's been taken off and not put back on properly. They come ever so slightly loose, and it just allows enough play in the strut brace to give you that cracking noise. And the reason is because there's two bolts that are on the firewall, so directly behind the dash, and there's one above each strut. I just tightened up, because mine were loose, I just tightened up the ones on top of the strut braces, and that actually solved it. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace all the bolts, because one, I don't want them happening again, and they look like they've been in and out a few times and they're a little bit chewed up. So I just want to make sure that they've got fresh bolts in there and this noise never comes back. Okay, so the bolts that are giving us the trouble are these ones. So they're T45s. There's one there, there's two in the centre underneath this trim, and then there's another one at the end there. Now all I did was tighten up the two end ones, and that solved my problem. You might just want to do that, that's absolutely fine. I would recommend at least tighten all four, just to be safe. Ideally replace all of them like I am. I think it's advised that if the bolts have ever been out that you replace them anyway. So that's what we're going to do with just normal hex bolts. So what you're going to need to do, if you do decide that you want to replace the bolts and remove the trim and everything, you will need your replacement bolts. So it's an M8 with a 23mm thread length, some sockets, your T45s, your T25 to remove the two little screws on the cabin filter housing, and if you've got one, a torque wrench, because we want to torque them down to about 30 newton meters of torque. If you haven't got one, don't worry too much, just use your best judgment. Don't go too much because you will strip them, because you're going into aluminium. Worst case scenario, go a little too not so tight, because you can always come back and tighten them up, but if you overdo it, you'll strip them and you'll have to tap out new threads. So what we'll do, first things first, is we need to remove all this trim here to gain access to the other bolts, and then we can start replacing them. Okay, so first things first, what we need to do is we need to start removing all the trim. So the first thing you need to take off is that there. Then you can remove this bit, so you just pull that towards the passenger side and lift off. We've got the cover here, that one off there. So there are some bolts here, 13mm quarter turn bolts. So if you just pop a 30mm socket on there, just give it a bit of a quarter turn like that. Then on your cabin filter housing there's a bar, you just pop that over like that, and then the filter housing just comes off. Then just here, just behind the battery terminal, there's the T25. Just take that off there. Like so. And you've got a little bit of trim here. You just, if you like, take a picture of how that's located, because it's a bit of a pig when you go to put that back. It can be a bit disorientating to clean up trying to put it back wrong. So just take a picture if you feel happier. Move that, like that, and that's what you need to do on this side. Then what you need to do is just repeat the process on there. It's always best to do the side first, because this tray has to come out first. So lift up like that, and that just comes out. So then all you need to do is just repeat the process on the other side. Just as a bit of a side note, this is a prime time, especially just before going into winter, just to check the drainage flaps here. So this is what lives in there, and what you'll find is debris will come down off the bonnet, off the windscreen, find itself in here, and will clog that little flap there, and you can end up getting water flood over this and then drop down onto your master cylinder and causing all sorts of issues. So for the sake of just checking while it's off, just make sure it's all clear, give it and make sure this is all clean too. Okay, so that is all the trim removed, and it gave me a chance to examine the 2 bolts that are here. Now, the eagle-eyed of you will notice that that is most definitely not a BMW bolt, and looks like it's been butchered in there. I'm hoping that's not done any damage to the thread. It looks rounded off like you wouldn't believe, so I'm going to have fun getting that out. But that'd be probably another reason why we've got the noise. Hopefully you haven't got that, and it's just your torque bolts have come loose. But as you can see, that mine are pretty chewed up anyway. Another reason why I want to replace them. So what we'll do is we'll remove all the old bolts and then replace them with nice new shiny ones. So just a little sit rep and a word of warning. This is why we don't use the incorrect bolts and stitch other people up. So yeah, that one was well and truly screwed and I had to drill it out, so I'm gonna have to drill and tap a new hole in that one. But yeah, don't do it, guys. So as you can see, I thought I'd change into a cat and I need to inspect. Okay, so eventually we managed to get out the old bolt there. I don't know what, it's like a brass alloy. It's definitely not the right bolt to be in there. It's the wrong size as well. So I had to tap it out and put a new one in, or a new thread in. So now we're ready for our nice new M8 bolts. So you can hit it with a little drop of Loctite if you want to. I'm not going to worry, but like I say, if you prefer, you can pop a little on. So just make sure you've got a washer. So what I would be inclined to do is start them all off, just so the strut brace is kind of where it needs to be, and then once you've got them all in place, tighten them down to where they're tight and then give them the final torque down to 30 Newton meters of torque. Okay, so there's our 4 new bolts in place. So a couple of words of warning. I know I did say I'm going to torque them down to 30 Newton meters of torque. When I tried that, I wasn't too happy about how much the bolt was still going until it got to 30 Newton meters. So I kind of did it by feel. I would recommend doing the same. And in worst case scenario, you get the clicking back again and you can just come back and nip them back up a bit more. But I don't know, I felt more comfortable doing it by feel than by the torque wrench. Also, the bolts, not necessarily the ones on top of the strut mounts, but the ones at the back there, they need to be 23mm long. 23mm long bolts can be a bit of a pain to find in an M8, so you can always get like a 30mm or even a 25, and just use an extra couple of washers like I did there, just to pack them out a bit more, to stop the thread from going all the way to the bottom. So that's pretty much it. What we've got to do now is just put all the trim back on. I'm going to give it a bit of a clean out here and there, especially down there because I've got some swarf and that from when I drilled that last one out. But yeah, that'd be pretty much it then. Okay, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Okay, so just change the bolts. That should, or even tighten them up. That should get rid of that creaking, cracking noise that you've got from the centre of your dash. Like I've said before, just be careful when you do tighten them up. I know I said at the start it's 30 Newton meters. Haynes manual says 30 Newton meters. I've seen people say 50 Newton meters. Go by feel. Okay, everyone's going to be different. Like mine, I think these bolts have been in and out so many times, the threads are quite weak, and I don't think they were going to handle 30 Newton meters at all. So yeah, just be a bit wary of that. But if you've got any other questions, please ask away in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to get back to you, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Thank you very much for my current subscribers. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I very much look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much, guys, and take care. Bye.